Well, now it's time to start working inside the post, the specific post. Sorry, that was my phone. Okay, so we need to add a new function inside this post service.ts in order to receive the specific post using the ID, okay? Because we want to fetch this from the Akita state. So let me just minimize my OBS again, and let's go to the post service. So we will add a new function. Let's add it below here. Remember that we're not using the get, okay? So you can actually add your functions here without any problem. This is just a regular service. So we're going to say get post entity, and we're going to use an ID which is going to be the ID, okay, that we have here import from Akita or Datorama Akita. Now, so we're going to say if this.post query that has entity, so we need to check for this entity, for this ID inside the storage or the state. I don't know why I said storage, but inside the state. So if we find that, then we're going to return this that post query that select entity. So we need to select actually that in order to return it. So we're going to return what we found. Now, let me just close this one. We will need to go inside the post component, and this component is going to have a ton of things. So this will be the large component in the application. So it's going to have a ton of logic. So let me just grab all this. So yeah, I will explain this in a second. Okay, so what we're doing here, we're importing again the post service, the post query. We need the activated route and router. We're going to grab the post, which we will need to do something, if I remember correctly. Then the validators from group from control, and again the until destroy to handle the destruction of the subscription easily, the store itself, and just map and take from the RxJS operators. So we will need to add the instances, which are a few. So for this one, let me just make this more readable. So we have the activated route there, we have the router here, we have the post query, then we have the post store, and then we have the service itself from Akita. Okay, so I just made this format for you to be able to read it easily. So now let's start adding actually in our variables. So okay, so we will need a few, only a few. So we have this current post, which is going to be type post, the current ID, which is going to be received or is going to be fetched or get, sorry, from the route snapshot param. So we're going to receive the ID from the URL itself. The edit mode, because we're going to have a toggle button. The image, because we're going to handle again an image in order to upload. And the busy boolean, which we will see later. So since we will have, okay, but I was going to do that, but let's just focus on the get post because it's quite a big function, and we will add the other things later. So yeah, I think it's better like that. Here, this is Akita, so it's a typing time. So we're going to say get post. So this is a function that is going to call the service. So give me a second. I need to go to my state. sorry. And models. Let's go to state models. TS, and you can see we don't have anything here. We can actually perform one little change, but it's not going to change anything actually. So we can import from Datorama Akita the ID, and we can just change this to be an ID. And that is all for that. So then we will need to add here what we want the post properties to be inside this interface. So let me just copy this and paste it. This is just a regular interface, and we will not need to touch anything from here. Again, the partial is setting everything to be optional, so we don't have to worry about anything else. So let me make this bigger so you can see we have a title type string, a cover type string, a content, and a file reference with the same type. So that's the only thing we need to do inside the models.ts. So we close that. Actually, we can close this, I think. So it's time to fetch from the Akita store. Okay, it closed. Okay, just give me a second because my other instance closed the I don't like when that happens. Okay, you know, when you open a new file, sometimes it closes that file, so you cannot just go back. You need to search for that. So we're going to check. We're going to make this right away the correct way on which it should be, so we don't waste time. Okay, so let's say this, that, and I will explain why we're doing this. So from the post service, we're going to use get post entity using this that current ID, which is the ID that comes from the parameters. And we need to check for something, if this thing is undefined or not. Why so? Because when we refresh, Akita is going to forget everything, so we will need to check if the entity that we're receiving is undefined or not. So we're checking again, do we have that in the state? So if this is not undefined, then it means that we haven't refreshed the page, we haven't reloaded anything, so the state is how it should be. So let me just give you a quick heads up here. So you can see the loading and it just disappeared because the post template took place. So here you can see we have this, okay, a state, and this is working fine. Okay, so when we go to check post, we're going to receive again the state, everything is connected, everything is running fine. But when we refresh, and you will not be able to see that in this case, okay, because we are not connecting to the state, and we are going to do it the right way from the start. So you know, it's less time that we need to in order to finish this video. So when we refresh, we're going to lose every part of the state. Okay, so the state is going to be wiped out, and we will need to make a new call in order to receive the state. Okay, so actually here we are blind, we cannot see anything. We will need to go back here in order to run the connect function that is syncing the collection with the store. Okay, so that is the main problem with Akita. So we're going to say this, that post service, that get post entity, there we're just checking if this is undefined. Then here we're going to make the actual. Of course, you can refactor all this. Pipe until destroy, we will need to add the ng destroy later. So we're going to pass this stream, and we're going to subscribe to the entity. Let me just make this. So we're going to receive an entity here, and we're going to set this that current post to the entity that we're receiving. Yep, to the entity, which is actually the post itself, but in the store. After that, we need to say this that edit. Okay, we don't have that, so let's say edit form needed for handling. Okay, we will add that, and because we're not going to focus on anything that is not only fetching the correct instance of the post. So we have that if, so let's say else. Again, this is if we have the correct flow, which is going to the main page, launching the .connect or running the .connect function that is syncing Firebase with the store, and then clicking the check post in order to move forward into this post. So here everything is defined because we have the correct store set. Now else this .post service, and this is the kinda ugly part, when we don't have the correct instance or the state just got wiped out because we refreshed the page. Post service .connect. So we will need to again connect, then pipe, then say until destroy. So we're going to keep this alive here. Then we're going to pass a map. So not a mapo, but a map. And here we can perform an async function because we will go and await for a new promise, because we don't want to make a subscription inside another subscription. So we're going to resolve that only. We're just only going to resolve. We're not going to worry about the rejection. You can just add that if you want to. Okay. This .post query that select entity. So from here we will map everything that is coming from the state. So we're connecting and syncing again everything from Firebase inside this same file, inside this component. So we need to select from all that we're receiving the entity that we want. So this current, no, this current ID, that pipe, we're going to take one only. Then we're going to map again, so we can say entity here, entity, because we will return only the entity in this case. And just give me a second. I just need this one, that's subscribe. And here we're going to subscribe to the value inside the promise, so it's done actually, so we don't have to wait for that. This current post is going to be equals to x. You can call it post, but what we're doing here is just taking taking only one instance and closing that, then returning that same entity that we took and passing that. Now is called x, and we say this current post equal to that entity. And let me just get here, and let's say edit form handling here too. Why? Because remember that this is when we have the correct flow, and this is when the page has been refreshed for some reason. Okay, you can have that issue. So now let me just get this, okay. And what we're going to do here is just resolve this so we can move on. So let me just see where the pipe ends. And this is the subscribe. Okay, so we're doing this again, just one more time. We're connecting again and getting all the results. We're going to keep this alive until the component is unmounted. Then we're going to map through all the entities that we're receiving from the connect and use a new promise in order to resolve the subscription here, because this could take a while, and this could have some issues, okay, or give us some issues inside the template because the response will not be there. So we need to wait for this actually here and resolve in order to move out of this promise. And this is only going to trigger when we subscribe to this connect. Okay, so that is actually what is going on there. As I said, this is kind of the tricky part. So yeah, let's save this and let's see what happens. Okay, so we don't have any error there, but okay, again we don't have anything inside the template. So let me just go to the template, and this is going to be kind of hard to tell. Let me just remove this. So this is going to be a section. I have a ton of things. As I said, this is the biggest component here. So okay, let me just grab this one and see if that is okay. So this is the current post. It's going to receive the information, and if the current post is set, then we're going to pass or receive all the information from the current post. This is the enable edit that we don't have that yet, else we're going to just display a loading state. So let me go because it's going to complain about that. Okay, so where is that? Okay, below here, let's make this go there and let's save it and let's see. Am I okay, let's see actually if there is something going on here. No, because we don't have the loading, it seems. Okay, let me just go again to my, this thing is closing what it shouldn't be closing. So this is the post component ATS. Okay, so let me just get that. So we have the post component, right? Okay, the current. Okay, so just give me a second. Oh, what I'm going to do now is just going to remove this and let's see what happens. I just want to see the information here, but we don't actually get that. So let me just take a look at that main section. Okay. Oh, I forgot something. Yep. So let me just return what I had there, else loading. Of course, I didn't add that inside the ng on init. And we will need to add, of course, again, the on destroy, because we're using the until destroyed on destroy. And we just need to say ng on destroy. Again, it's not going to respond with anything, so we can say void here too, and here we just call get post, this that get post. Just give me a second. Yep, So no, this is just a regular, okay, semicolon. What the hell am I doing? I just wanted to delete that. Okay, and let's see if we have an error or not. Okay, you can see that, and it has the correct flow. Okay, it's actually handling everything right. So if we just come back here, and it should be the last one. Nope, it should be this one. Okay, so let's just get this and see what is going on. Okay, we don't receive anything, but here we receive something. Okay, so let's say console.log this that current post, and let's see something. On the find, we go back, we get this, we click, and okay, I didn't add. Okay, I know. Sorry. Let's actually do it here. So let's see if that triggers. If not, well, I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so you can see we have the ID, I mean the specific post that we are receiving here. So you can see that it's different. Actually, of course, because we're displaying everything. So you can see that we are receiving everything, but let me just go to this one since the image is smaller, and let's refresh. You can see we have an undefined because the store just got wiped out. So that is actually the problem that I wanted to show you. And I know this is it's pretty tricky, since you might want to subscribe, or yeah, you might want to subscribe to disconnect, then first, sorry, and then subscribe to this post query, just like that, but without the promise, and you will not get the correct information. Okay, sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not, because of the subscription. But I think that's it for this one. We will add. Okay, everything is working fine. We have this edit post, but of course we don't have anything there, and everything is working fine. If I refresh, of course, it's going to trigger the connect again. In this page, it's always going to trigger, and it will be fine. And now, if I do this, it's going to take a bit, but then it's going to trigger again the connect, selecting the correct instance using the ID, and then placing all the information inside our template. Okay, so that is all for this video, and we will continue in the next one.